parents put me in a place where I was married in a certain manner, it doesn't mean that my child has to get married in the same way just because I went through it in that way. If I was allowed to be in a place where I made a determination as to who my spouse would be, this is something that the religion says I'm entitled to do. In the Sunan of Abu Dawood rahimahullah, we find the hadith, we find the tradition that the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, he is given word of a young woman who was married against her will. And he speaks to this woman and he says that this marriage will be null and void if you don't want it to be taking place. Because you can't get them married without their consent. It is not allowed. Forced marriage is something that is haram. When we try to understand this, we have to understand the deeper implications of it, because we are seeking to honor the objectives of a culture that should never supersede the objectives of our Sharia. When we force somebody to get into a relationship that doesn't make sense for them, we are just perpetuating cycles of misunderstanding in households that are not very healthy. We put our children into places where they're forced to succumb to circumstances that they should not be forced to succumb to. Young women and young men on a daily basis find themselves in the situation where they are forced to acquiesce to a marriage contract that they do not want to be a part of, because they have a misconstrued understanding of what it means to be obedient to your parents. Islam does not say to you as a mother or a father that you are fully entitled to do what you will with your child's life. It is your child's life, not your own. A young woman comes to me pretty much every single week, every single day at times, with these kind of issues. Then my parents, they don't listen to me. My parents, they don't speak to me. They put me in a place where I went to a school, I went to a university, I came to them with an individual who would be good to me. They said, not only will you not be able to get married to this person, you have to get married to a person who is not only from our country, but from the specific village that is within our country. And if you don't do so, you are a bad person, you are dishonoring the rights that we have over you as parents, and you are doing something that surely you will cast sin upon yourself. And the child wanting to not be someone who is disobedient to these parents, they find themselves in a place, I'm just going to do what I will. And they find themselves then in a place where they are not connected to the person who they are now sharing the bed with, who they will now be bringing children into the world with, who they look to as a means of support, a means who will be someone who will be there for them when no one else is there for them. They don't even know how to talk to one another. A young woman came to see me recently who was forced into a marriage by her parents who had engaged in domestic abuse. And this young woman, she says that I was forced to be in this relationship for more than years, and every single night that my husband came and approached me in a physically intimate way, I felt as if this man was raping me. Because I had no desire to be with him. I did not want to be there sharing that bed with him. And I wished I had said no when I had the opportunity to say no. And I wish they had listened to me every single time I had said no, and had not jumped when in my weakness I had said yes. Don't do that to your children. Don't set them up in that way. And if you are in a place where you are trying to understand your own marital pursuits, don't say yes to a marriage that you do not want to be a part of. You cannot sacrifice your happiness in that way. In the hadith, we have a woman by the name of Qayla bin Makhrama. This woman, she narrates hadith that we find in the book of Abu Dawood rahimahullah. And this woman, she has a story that is associated with her, that when her husband passes away, she has several daughters who are not wed. And her husband's brother, he seeks to take seeds of these young girls and get them married to people that he thinks they should get married to, not people that they want to marry on their own. And so this woman, Qayla, it is said that she takes her youngest daughter, she is able to grab her and run from the situation, and she goes and seeks out the Prophet ﷺ in Medina. And on her way to Medina, it is said that this man, her brother-in-law, begins to catch up to where she is. When she gets to the outskirts of the city, a struggle ensues, and he takes the child back with him so that he can do with her what he wants to do, get her married against her will. This woman, Qayla, it is said that she comes with a delegation into the city of Medina, and she goes into the masjid at the time of the Fajr prayer the next day. And as she sits, she is given the opportunity to speak to the Prophet ﷺ. And when the beloved of Allah alayhi salam hears what has happened to her and what is happening to her daughters, he says that we should not oppress Qayla and her daughters and force them to get married against their will. Every faithful Muslim should help them in this cause. A Muslim should do good deeds and not evil ones. What more do we want to hear? And what more do we want to understand?